Welcome to Seeking Heaven, the channel where we talk about all things spiritual, including near-death experiences and other phenomenon. Please consider supporting the channel by becoming a donor or channel member, and you can support the channel without spending a dime just by clicking that like button, subscribing, putting a comment, or sharing this video with others. And today we're going to be talking with Tamara Caulder Richardson about spiritually transformative experiences, also known as STEs. Tamara is the Southern Belle Medium. She's an international evidential medium. She's had 6 near-death experiences. She channels Christ, Mother Mary, Cryon, Ashtar, and others. She has spoken at the International Association for Near-Death Studies, IANS, and was the founder and president of the Charlotte, North Carolina IANS chapter. She's also currently involved with Spiritual Awakenings International, has spoken there, and she serves on the advisory board as a group facilitator and marketing chair. And coming up in a conference that's free to register, June 11th and 12th, and there's a link below, she'll be speaking and moderating at that conference. Tamara, it's always good to be back here with you on Seeking Heaven.
Oh, thank you for hosting today. You're my favorite host. You're terrific. So thank you for doing that.
All right, so let's get right into it. Today we're talking about spiritually transformative experiences. Now, in my NDE research, I've heard a lot of different things that sound like STEs, and I was hoping you could kind of start by telling us who coined the term STE and what is it and what does it involve. I've heard things like the opening of a third eye or a Kundalini awakening, DNA activation, opening of the crown chakra. Who coined the term STE? What is it and what does it involve?
Sure, that's a mouthful, but yes, the spiritually transformative experiences are the ones that I will speak about today. I'm not going to get too much into. I'll give you a little teaser on my childhood. I'll talk about more of the adult ones because the childhood is the ones I'll be talking about on the childhood STE panel for Spiritual Awakenings International, June 11th, which is free. Which the links are below. But spiritually transformative experiences. First of all, that was a term that was coined by Dr. Von Kaysen, and she wrote that in several publications, and she went in depth with her own experiences in the book Touched by the Light, as well as she has 30, 40 years of extensive research counseling people that have had NDEs, OBEs, out-of-body experiences, ADCs, after-death communication, Kundalini awakenings, and she was also a part of founding many Kundalini research foundations, but she did coin that term, and I'm really honored to be on the advisory board and to help out as the marketing chair with SAI because there's so many different types of experiencers there. But I feel like that these spiritually transformative experiences, whether examples would be Kundalini awakening. You're right. DNA activation. Absolutely. I mean, I had one that just blew my mind. That's absolutely one. It could be someone that has ghost experience. Maybe they don't expect it. Maybe they go to a historical area in Gettysburg and wow, I didn't expect that. It could be that. It could be angels. It could be really any type of thing. It could be UFOs. It could be having a Bigfoot experience. A freaking fairy experience, which I've heard in the woods, them giggling, and other people heard it too, and there was nobody around. So it can really be anything that is beyond. I mean, it's really, you think paranormal, so that's added to our normal, but it's we always think of paranormal as dark and negative, but that's not really what it means. It just means extra normal, and I think I'm extra normal. I'm normal, but little salt and pepper added to that. So I think a lot of people are coming out with these spiritually transformative experiences, these STEs, because people, if you live long enough, whether you have a shared near-death experience, whether you're in the room with someone passing and you feel their spirit pass through you, or you get the sense your family's there, even people that aren't so-called very spiritual, actually we all are having these things.
Yeah, for me personally, my spiritually transformative experience was investigating near-death experiences. Now, of course, if you have an NDE and you're standing before the light love of the Creator, and those who have had NDEs know exactly what I'm talking about, you can't stand before the Creator, that light, without that love transforming you forever. So, I mean, it's a transformative experience. Now, you've had 6 NDEs. What kind of STEs did you have as a child? Tell us about those.
I'll give you a little bit of a teaser on that. Again, like I said, I'll be saying more about that on the STE Childhood Panel on June 11th with Spiritual Awakenings International. But some of the things, and it's funny, you know, David, I never talked about this, and I don't really know why. I think if I had to say why I haven't talked about this, it's because I worked so hard most of my life hiding it to fit in and being normal.
Mhm.
And I just kind of buried it away. But some of the things that I would say, as far back as I can remember, I mean, 2, 3 years old, again, as far back as I can. I mean, I can remember past that, but as far as having these spiritually transformative experiences as a child, I remember definitely 3 and 4 very vividly on. And it started sometimes 11, usually around 12, to about 4 or 5 in the morning. And it was I can't really say what I like to say it was. Let's just say it was a paranormal circus. And I would just dread going to bed. And so many nights I would have to stay up because I didn't know what the heck was going on. And then I would go to school and I would fall asleep. I would always get the desk in the front, like, I'm going to stay awake. And I would go to sleep, and people couldn't understand why I was so tired, is because I was staying up all night. So I think that's part of what got me into a second shift time frame, is because of staying up. But what would happen is I would see spirit people that would come in my room, and they would just start talking. Some of them were friendly and nice. Sometimes I get what you would consider ghost, and they would want me to help them. And I'd be like, look, I don't know you. You need to leave. You look weird. Because some of them, they're like lower level. They're like humans that have, we all know humans that are really lost and confused. Imagine someone in a Skid Row bomb, not to make fun of a Skid Row bomb, but if they came to you in a ghost form, they probably wouldn't look that great, and maybe they got hit by a car. Then, so that I would get that lower vibrational kind of stuff too. And I was like, look, I don't know, I'm a kid. I would see orbs in the room, bright light ones. I think that was a form of an angel and spirits. I would see angelic beings in the room, which looked like bright lights. I would also see, especially when I got later on, I didn't really understand because I didn't really go. Now and then I went a couple times with my grandmother to church, but I found out there's this thing called a Bible, and then I would look at it, and then I would see on the wall these dark looking, the size of a full grown person with a tadpole tail, and I would see these things crawling on the walls with red eyes. They were demons. It wasn't really that great. They just look at me. It was like they couldn't touch me. They would just look at me, intimidation. So it was always, and then they tried to touch me. Oh God, I hated that. So I would see the spirit people as solids. This was my childhood. I had no one to talk to about it. So these are the kind of things that I'm going to talk about, because I think it's important, especially people that have kids or that have niece or nephews, to understand this is something that goes on with kids because they're more open and impressionable. And so some kids are perceptive of this kind of thing. Now, as an adult, I had more.
Now, did you think, I'm just curious, did you think that this was normal, that this is something that everybody saw? Was there a certain point when you realized this was a special thing that you were experiencing?
I tried to mention certain things, and then I was like, that's your imagination. You were tired, you were sleeping, you were dreaming. I will say this is kind of funny. My mom would come in to check on me, like, in the middle of the night, or I used to have night terrors, and I would scream like a banshee at the top of my lungs. And actually, the first few years of being married was like that. Every now and then, about every 5 years, I still do it, and it's very scary sound. It's like and my mom would come in there and check on me, and I would be asleep, but my eyes would be rolled in the back of my head and it would just be white showing. No, I was not possessed. I was just in a deep sleep. And she goes, it was the weirdest thing. And she used to make fun of me. Oh, you look so weird when you sleep. And I'm like, well, don't look at me. So I was just a strange little kid. I don't know why. She's like, yeah, you look so weird. So I would, did I think it was normal? I didn't think any of it was normal, but I didn't have anyone safely to speak to about this.
Okay, but it started from a very young age. Now, was there something that triggered it, or was there a set of circumstances, or did these things just kind of happen spontaneously?
I think both. I think, I had my first near-death experience as a prenatal. I do remember my mom being pregnant and me not quite making it. And so right off the bat, I'm not normal, trying to come into the world. And then when I'm 3, then I had I was playing and had the nail from a dresser go through my head. Well, that connected my crown chakra. Bam. I mean, it just opened me right up. Afterwards, I could see spirit people everywhere. And then 4, I had another one, which was, a car wreck, went through the tunnel and saw Jesus. And that just heightened it even more. And then at 5 years old, I was dead on arrival, 15 minutes at the hospital. I had pneumonia. My lungs were collapsing and I had a very high fever. It started at like 103.9. And then by the time I got to the hospital, I was already dead on arrival, but I was dead on and off 2 hours. And they eventually just covered me with a sheet. My lungs did eventually come back. They put me in one of those breathing tents, but I spent 3 days with Jesus. So no, I mean, of course that just enhanced all the other stuff. It was like a building thing. And then at 10 years old, I had, a drowning in Myrtle Beach in the pool, family vacation. I got hung up in the water and I literally could see the water. It's like a golden white light and it started opening up and I could hear like a beautiful layered chorus of angels. So, and I was like, oh God, great. Not again. That was an accident. Totally my fault. Was caught up under guys playing volleyball, was being like a 10-year-old pervert. So, but yeah, so it just enhanced and removed the layers of filters and amnesia that we come back with, including past life recall, immediate past life recall, astral travel. I remember, one time I so many times I would meditate and I would look at myself, I'd be on the ceiling. It kind of freaked me out. Then I'll go, oh my God, and then because we assume that when you're out like that, that you're dead, but I wasn't dead. I was just on the ceiling. So these were common things. And I never told anyone because till now people talk about these things, but at the time they didn't really talk about this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Back 40, 50 years ago, if you talked about, astral travel, out of body experiences, seeing, entities in your room, you might be in danger of being put in a mental institution. Whereas today, I think it's much more common and a much more accepted thing that these spiritual experiences that I think are, as time goes on, society is beginning to accept as legitimate experiences. What are some of the common after effects of these childhood STEs, these transformative spiritual experiences that you had? I mean, how did it affect your childhood and afterwards as an adult? How were you affected?
You're looking at it. Well, after denying it for a long time, I finally embraced it. Now I'm an international evidential medium.
But I started a YouTube channel.
Now I have a YouTube channel. Bam!
Here we are.
There you go. And I channeled Jesus among other people. But it didn't go that way initially. I think it was when I was very young, it was confusing what all these spirit people were in the room and they want to talk. A lot of them, the majority were very friendly. They weren't like in trouble and they needed like soul rescue and like, let's cross them over. A lot of them were just like, hey, you can see us. How you doing? Let's have a talk. Hey, my name is Rose. What's your name? And I was like, holy crap, I just want to go to sleep. I got school in the morning. So, so it wasn't, but still that's alarming when you're like, why do these people keep coming in my room? Like, I just didn't get that. And I laugh with other mediums. I have a friend in New York who's a medium, and she's like, "Oh God, same thing, the same thing." So I think what happened is I had to find a way to get through it. So of course I went with God. When I found out about Jesus, I'm like, I'm sticking with him. I'd pull him in like, you got to help me out of this. So I knew that. And then when I got through, I guess it was I was 14. I had a really weird thing happen one time. And I know it may not seem like a big deal, but it was weird. As my grandmother came to babysit for my sister and I, and my little bratty sister, the bratty, very demanding little sister, 8 years younger. And she was downstairs, and I was upstairs, and they were watching TV. I was going to take a bath. Well, I'm getting ready to take a bath. I'm a teenager, 14, and I hear this very loud rap on the door. It's very loud, like bam, bam, bam. And I opened it. I went, what? Because, at 14, girls want their privacy in the bathroom, and they're just, it's just, they're very, I was modest. I was like, what? I'm trying to get it, take a bath. And nobody was there. And then I closed the door. I thought, well, that's weird. I'm hearing things. And I even looked downstairs. I said, what do you want? And they looked at me. You could tell they didn't know what I was talking about. So then I'm getting ready to take a bath. I'm getting ready. Okay. Drawing the water. We're on the second floor, and a very loud rap came to the window. It was loud. There's no way you can get it. We were really more like a third level because it was a trial level house, and you couldn't even have a ladder and do that. Okay. There was nobody out there, and it was extremely loud. So spirit was trying to get my attention for a long time. These were so many things that happened, and they can tell energetically when people are different. So how it changed me for, I guess, the teenage years to honestly in my 30s, it was still integrated as a part of me. I was trying to hide it, but apparently a couple of people that I went to college with said, well, we knew what you were. We knew you were like a psychic, and you were bringing through families then. He said, you did a horrible job covering it up. I went, oh, well, I didn't know. And they said, you suck. They I didn't know, I didn't do very well. So it was integrated as a part of me, but I did try to have a normal life as best that I could. So I tried I really tried hard to put up these there were like walls to like, don't leave me alone. I wanted to experience a normal life, and for the most part I did. But when it was when I hit around 34, it started, and all of a sudden I started becoming discontent with, I had gone to school for advertising and marketing, and I started getting really discontent, and I didn't know why. And then what came later is I always won awards. I was always really successful. I had clients that did really well. And all of a sudden, it was like the door shut on it. I couldn't get, I could give it away practically for free. I couldn't get the work. I'm like, what is going on? And it is because I was supposed to be doing this. Who would have known? And so it was not the path I was supposed to be on. I was very hard-headed. I would not let go of that. I was very hard-headed. So I had about 14 years of suffering because I would not just chill and just see what the universe had for me. I was like, no, I'm good at this. This is who I am. This is my identity. I'm an advertising executive. And honestly, that's not my identity. My identity is I'm a spiritual being created in the form of God, so that was a little heavy for me. And so I had worked so hard that I had forgotten. And then they started happening. The experiences started happening again. And finally I went, well, I guess it's not going away. So finally I said, all right, I had this big talk with God, and I said, all right, what do you want me to do? And then Jesus showed up and said, it's time. It's time. He called me in for service. I'm serious. He said, it's time. I said, for what? He goes, to use your gifts. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to be seen as a charlatan. And he said, well, then you won't. But it literally was like, it's time. Come on. It's time. And then from there, I thought, well, I'll embrace it. And I realized that it was such a part of me that whether I did this professionally or not, there's no separation.
So you realized then, I think it sounds like, that you were given these spiritually transformative experiences for a reason. It's almost as if all throughout your childhood you've had them in your adult life, and it's all been leading you to share these messages and be a service to humanity, to really help us and bring these ideas into the common consciousness.
Yes, and to let people know that it's okay, because I never had anyone tell me it's okay if you question things. If you question look, I'm a spiritual rebel. If you question your religion, or if you don't have a religion, I think it's healthy to question, even if you look at other religions. I mean, everybody's different, so I don't know what, each person needs. I mean, you know what you need. You and God can figure it out. But for me, I had, I didn't really, oh boy, I'm opening a can of worms. I didn't really take to initially the traditional Christianity, because I would ask questions and they just wouldn't answer it, and it frustrated me. And just to have faith was not really the answers that I needed, because I was a little deeper than that. And I remember going at 12 years old on to the library, and why everybody else was hanging out and do what kids do, and 13, 14, 15, 16, and they're dating. And what am I doing? I'm studying Edgar Casey. And I'm studying time travel. So, God makes us all different. And so, the good news is, I always wonder what I was going to do with all this random, bizarre information. And, and this is what this channel is about, because I really have studied a lot of things, and I still do. I still like to read a lot, because I think that with knowledge, that it removes the fear, and it also unifies us to know there are other people that have experienced what you've experienced. And if you haven't, that you could experience these things. And if you do, it's okay. Don't freak out.
Hmm. Well, speaking of others who have experienced these things, have you ever had a sort of a shared spiritual transformative experience with another?
I have quite a few. I'll
Oh,
tell you one that was very near and dear to my heart. Well, with animals too, but I'll talk about first my grandmother. My grandmother. Let's see. I was about 22, 24, and she had a stroke. She was in the hospital. It was bad. She was not coming out of that. She was not in a good way. And so she went into a coma, and I was there with her and the family as they gather around. And I remember I had my grandmother was a real diva. She loved her lipstick. Oh, she would go nowhere without, unless she had a red lipstick. Oh yeah, she's 80 something. She's got to have a red lipstick. And she always dressed, and she always had her makeup on. Oh yes. And so she wasn't arrogant. She just she liked to style and profile. All the women in the family are like that. I have no idea why, but I think we got it from her. So I'm leaning over the bed. She's in a coma, and I have on this big wooden necklace. It looked kind of African, with these African earrings. And she came. She can barely talk. She's drifting in and out of a coma. She wakes up and goes, and grabs my necklace. And I was like, oh God, what a woman. And she she did. And then I went, oh, thank you. And she's been in a coma. She came out of the coma to grab my necklace, and they go, woo. And then couldn't even talk, but she's and then I said, and then she went back into a coma, and I said, I just wish she could hear me, so I could tell her how much I love her and how much she's done for me in my life, because her and my granddaddy put me through college, and it was expensive, and they were working in their 70s to put me through college. I wish she could hear me. And she was in a coma, and she stuck her tongue out at me. She went to let me know that she heard, because she couldn't move her body at this point. And I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. But when she finally passed and we were counting down, there was a nurse that came in and said, see her legs, her organs are shutting down. I thought it was a bit morbid, but she's, and then she told my grandmother, it's okay if you're so and so and so, blah, 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 which now I'd be like, get out of the room. I can handle this. This is my grandmother here. But, this was just overwhelming to me. But I thought it was the most beautiful, sacred thing that I have ever been through, because I was there when she took her last breath and her spirit passed through me, and it was glorious. And I felt the minute that she was already in the room, I could feel her, but it was like that golden thread, it just popped and you could feel it snap off. Like she was already out and about, right? But when it snapped and I could feel that passing through me, there was so much abundant love in that room because she was pure spirit. And my granddaddy have been with me ever since. They're actually my helpers. They help me with my medium demonstration shows. And I wanted to be with them. So, I am, just in a different way.
Okay, so when you say the cord snapped, are you talking about that same silver cord some people
Silver
see
cord.
in their out-of-body experiences, or
Did.
some see in their near-death experience, and if that snaps, you can't go back in your body? That's what you saw?
I didn't see the silver. I saw it as gold, but doesn't matter.
Okay, like a golden cord. Yeah, it's like a cord of energy connecting to
Yeah,
the
the
center
cord of
of the...
energy. It
Okay,
snapped.
wow.
She was out and about. You could feel it. But when it snapped, like it was a release from the body, like I'm done, like totally, like really drop it, no connection. At the same exact time, there was so much intense love in the room. Now, I also had a shared experience before this happened to my grandmother when my granddaddy passed. And when he came to, it was beautiful. I was in college and I was studying for some type of algebra. Math was not my area. I was bored to death with it. And sacred geometry, though, is different. If they offered that, I'd have got an A+. But I had to keep taking this stupid algebra. I'd take it and fail it and take it again. I thought, well, maybe they'll have pity on me at some point. When I finally realized they had logic class, I was like, I took it and did really well in that. I was like, well, why didn't they tell me that all along? I'm going to take this instead. But so I'm taking this, I'm studying, going, I hate this. Why is there an equation with it? I don't know, just learn it. It's kind of like your answer in religion, right? So I didn't like it. I'm studying, just study that axiom. So I'm learning this and I'm cramming for a test. And it was on a Thursday night, because I remember Friday I had the test. No, it was a Wednesday night. Is I had the test Thursday, and then Friday I was in Greenville, North Carolina. It's about 5 hours or so away from where I lived, and also my grandparents a little bit longer. And I thought, well, maybe I'll go this weekend and visit them. So it's 3 a.m, around 3-ish, paranormal time. Not always a bad thing, but anyway, I'm going up to. I had a roommate there, and we had a apartment. And I'm walking up the stairs to go to my bedroom. She had one, I have one, and so I'm going. I don't even think she was there that weekend. I think she was visiting her parents. But I'm walking upstairs, and it stops me midway, and I could smell my granddaddy's cherry pipe, very strong. And he also worked in the mill where they put me through. They made manufacture of men's socks, and it was a certain kind of oil that they use to oil the socks. It has an exact smell. Matter of fact, I have a bundle of socks in my file cabinet, and I sometimes just smell it because it's them. And I smelled it, and as I got to the top of the stairs, it became stronger and stronger. And then when I went in my bedroom, it was even stronger. And I looked at the time and I knew he had passed. So the next day, my grandmother called me in the morning. She goes, I have something to tell you. It's bad. And I said, I already know. Granddaddy passed, right? She goes, yeah. I said, what was it, around 3:15 or whatever? She goes, yeah. And so I leave to go that weekend to be with her, and they're making funeral arrangements. And it wasn't the first night, but the second night. And I was sharing it. We were at my uncle's, and he had, his kids there. And so we were in one of the bedrooms, as the grandmother and I were sharing a bed at the uncle's. We were like gathered together as a family in one house. So we went to sleep, and in the middle of we were asleep, and I woke up in the dream. And I was still in the dream, but I woke up. I know that sounds strange, but my grandfather was sitting at the edge of the bed, and he had all this beautiful light coming off of him. And he was talking to me telepathy. I said, oh my gosh, how are you? And he had his hand on my leg, and he goes, I'm fine. I just came to check on you. Like, he couldn't understand what was wrong with me. Why would I be worried? And my grandmother looked at him, and he goes, how are you, honey? And it was just the real, I'm just going to sit here for a while with you too, if you don't mind. And we're like, okay. So the next day I woke up, I told grandmother, she goes, "This is impossible. I had the same dream." So he came and he spent time with us. But 6 months before he died, I saw his spirit leaving. I saw him on the steps at the top of his house, this old Victorian house, and the wispies were coming off of his body. And I feel like it's a process of your spirit leaving. And it was just little wispies. And he was starting to leave then. And I think those were beautiful to me, that I was able to experience that, a part of that, um, the shared death. I also had it with my sister-in-law. When she passed, and it was full on mediumship after that. She talked to me nonstop. So if I wanted to shut it off, I couldn't, because she would tell me stuff. She would tell me jokes. She would tell me, it was all the time. She was an awesome person. We were good friends. She was very funny. She died early in life. She was 46, but gorgeous. She was like the oldest Hooters person that worked there. Really, seriously, she was really good looking. And so when she passed, she had 4 different cancers. She came to me, and I was putting on an outfit to try on. She goes, "Oh, I don't like that. Well, that makes your butt look so and so." I said, "Okay, I'm going entirely, completely insane." And she literally talked to me like she's right there, and it never stopped. And
Wow.
she's one of my helpers too. And then we went to the funeral. She goes, "I don't want to go in there. I don't want to look at what I look like. I look horrible." I said, "Well, you don't need to go in there then." And then she said, "Some of these people I don't like." I'm like, "Well, it's okay." And I'm like, "Oh my God." She goes, "Well, you know what? I had to go to a party and pay for, I was in charge of a business association, business marketing associate. I had to pay for, we had awards night. So I had to show up there first before I went to a funeral." And she goes, "Well, I'll go to that. I love parties." And I'm like, this never stopped after that. So it's just a part of my world. But if truth be known, most people have had things happen to them.
Yeah, it's interesting. In my near-death experience research early on, I heard about people who had visited heaven, and they were told or shown that our relatives who have died before us, when they say, "Well, what do you guys do up here in heaven?" One of the activities they're really enjoying is coming down here and helping us and communicating with us. And they're often more subtle about it. I mean, some people have more direct experiences like you have because of your STEs and NDEs, but other times it's more subtle, and they're always here with us, helping us out. I really believe that my mother has communicated with me a few times. So is there anything else
It's beautiful.
before we wrap the show that you want to share with us about spiritually transformative experiences? Maybe talk about some of the after effects or some of the challenges people have. I know a lot of people
Yeah.
watching this channel right now who have gone through a spiritually transformative experience. You think, "Oh, I'm becoming spiritually enlightened. I shouldn't be depressed." But an STE can trigger depression. It can cause loss of friendships. It can cause a person to kind of withdraw from society, negative people, situations. What are some of the effects of having an STE, and what advice do you have for those people, just to kind of let them know they're not alone in what they're experiencing and what they can do to get through this process?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we can take this to, an hour. I know we're 30 minutes in, because this is a really big topic, and I want people to really use me, get this information out, whatever. I mean, I have so much that I don't even tell people, that so much that there's so much there. But as far as if you haven't had a lot of spiritual experiences, or some people think, "Oh, nothing's really happened to me," that doesn't mean that it can't. But when it does, sometimes it's more impactful to someone like that than me, like, "Oh, here's something else. What's new now?" And so it can be really traumatic to someone that doesn't really live in this world. And it can, for example, people that accidentally see ghosts, or they have an after death communication, or any of these, or Kundalini awakening. It could be anything that triggers it, a near death experience. It could be just a series of things that once they see a UFO, good. But whatever it is that triggers it, you can't go back. I've even seen interviews with people that have, like, "Oh my gosh, I was out here camping and there's Bigfoot. Like, there he is. He's big. His face is right there." Well, they can't go back to their normal life Because first of all, they're going, if that's there, what else is here? I saw that. I can't unsee it. So you can't go back and pretend. And now, many times when we have these experiences that I do believe we're actually pulling that toward us to have. So apparently, I'm a paranormal spiritual junkie. Apparently, I make fun of people that are adrenaline junkies, but honestly, I must be a spiritual paranormal junkie because I got like loads of this stuff. I mean, I got an endless bucket of really cool stuff. Things levitating. I got good stories. I've got things I've seen with people. I saw UFOs with my husband. He's very normal. We saw it together. It was a whole fleet. It was like 4 over there and a big one right there. And I was like, wow, what do you know? I wish they'd land. See, I didn't even react normal to that. I was like, wow, I just love them. I wish they'd land. That's not normal. So I think, no, really, I didn't expect I'd behave in this manner. I thought but I just felt so much love. I wanted to hug them. So I think that it changes someone to the point they have to ask questions. And then when they start asking questions, they first start their own little research quietly and they try to fit in, don't say anything. But then when they start doing their research and their mind, they start shifting their viewpoints, their world viewpoints, their spiritual viewpoints. It could be affect their religion, like that question several things that now people starting to notice, okay, David over there, we used to keep him under control, but now he's asking too many questions, and now he's rocking the boat for the rest of the family. What's going on over there? And then sometimes you can become a threat to people, and I know that that it's probably just human nature, but I've been that way to my family. Now they've given up. They're like, she is just, the picture of unusual and spiritual and paranormal, that's her picture. I mean, they just given up, but they did. If we don't talk about that, I'm like, why not? I love it. It's awesome. So that's, to some people it's taboo because they feel like you're forcing them to look too, and they don't want to. Some people don't. They want to stay where they are. So I never try to take away people's comfort level or their foundation. They have to grow in their own spiritual time, whatever they need. You may say, well, they're not waking up. I read a lady the other day, and very nice, but she's like, my mother's not waking up, and I keep telling her. I said, well, her spirit family came through and said, look, that is not your business. You need to leave your mama alone. She'll see it when she crosses over, if that, but until then, you can't push someone to see something or believe a certain way. It has to be authentically come from within of that person. So that's the big one right there. People change their friends. Many NDErs, it's like 75%, 72% divorce rate, because they're like, I didn't marry this person. I don't know who this is anymore. And so it's a total shift of personality. And I think there's a lot of confusion. I did a whole segment on that. Oh, do you have the signs of spiritual awakening? And it's like, it looks, everybody's running, because your whole world feels like it's shaken up. And I guess I want people to know that it's actually our normal state, and that we are using only, what is it, 3%, 10%? I don't know what that percentage is of our ability, and that we have been in a fear-based reality for too long, and we're stopping ourselves from our true potential. We are co-creators with God, and we're pretty awesome, and we're spirit, and we can't die. So it's all good news, and there's no reason to fear. Very, very little of it's fearful stuff that I've experienced. Really fearful. Very few.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, I was thinking as you were talking about having your experiences that transformed you, and you want to tell people. When I first started getting into near-death experiences, I wanted to tell everybody, and it caused some tension with my family, because like you said, you can't drag somebody to higher consciousness. They're going to come to a higher consciousness when they're good and ready. Mm-hmm. And I learned just through trial and error to not really try and convince anybody of the things I believe in, really to enjoy all the stuff I'm learning, which I do, and enjoy the positive changes it's made in my life. But when I'm dealing with other people, I try not to apply or talk about any of the concepts I try to apply the concepts. And generally what I mean by applying the concepts is, unconditional love. When somebody's angry and screaming in your face, to not respond in kind, to respond with compassion, like, oh, I'm sorry, you're upset. What can I do to make things better? When people see a person who has changed and has become calm and who is embracing behaviors that flow from unconditional love, some are going to ask, hey, what's your secret? And that's, of course, the time to tell them about it, the few that might ask about it. But I mean, we can affect the world positively just by spreading love and compassion. We don't have to spread the ideas. Children are great at unconditional love, and they have no concepts of spiritual knowledge or anything like that. So you can have an STE and really positively affect all the people around you without even having to spend 1 second explaining yourself or what you believe or your new paradigm of reality that you find yourself in. And it makes life a lot easier when you relate to people on their level, and at least for me, and I don't try and drag them up to where I am.
Well, it's cruel. It's not considerate. If people believe a certain way, and even if you think it's antiquated, that's their comfort level. Don't take away their stable foundation. That's why, people, I've had, start see guests and they talk about first contact. I mean, some people that's horrifying. Others like, hey, sign me up. Can I get on there too? Can I get on that ship? And so, but that would that would really think about it. That would, wherever you are, that would level the playing field, because we would be looking at, there they are. There's an alien. And no matter what any of us thought, it would really shift us very quickly. But I don't think that it's there. You can have a quick spiritual shift, like a Kundalini awakening or a quickening of some type. You can, or it can be a slow process. But I think we agree to these things in our soul contract before we get here. We may go, look, I had a rough life last time. I just need to sail through this. I'm just gonna do the bare minimum. I'm going to be nice to people. And I just basically want to take it easy. Then there's other people's like, look, I really just want to get off this particular planet and go to another one. So I'm going to fast track this thing. So whatever needs to happen with karma, I'm going to burn it off. So let's just do it. And so, and then you've got, that doesn't mean that might not apply to you at all. So people go, oh, what about that person? That has nothing to do with you. They decided that's what they wanted to do. The biggest thing that I hear a lot of is this: people that go on a spiritual path. Let's take it out of the ballpark for a minute, but like saints. I don't know a lot about saints. You probably do. You're raised Roman Catholic, but I do know that they suffered. And people say to me, oh, why did you have, this or that, or, difficulty or NDEs in childhood, or why do kids have to suffer, or why does this? Well, that's part of this world. There's suffering in this world. With these bodies that are made out of muscle and flesh and bones, there is some emotional and physical pain just by being here. I mean, you're gonna stump your toe at some point, but the thing is, we do live forever, and in that respect, then there is no pain. So many people that have had NDEs, including myself, will tell you at that moment of impact or that moment of whatever, they don't feel it. They don't feel that thing. Is that true? Did you find that in your book you wrote?
Oh, certainly, over and over again. In fact, I have a 5-minute video on my YouTube channel, and one of the things the people who have the near-death experiences say there is that, instantly I was pain-free. I was out of my body, and I had no pain. Matter of fact, the horrific pain was replaced by indescribable ecstasy, filled up with life and joy and happiness and love beyond description. It's a wonderful thing. Sure.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, and that's an STE right there. Just having the experience of coming out of your body. I mean, not everybody has a near-death experience where it's extensive and they go all the way to heaven and they see the light and they have a conversation with God. I mean, you've had 6 NDEs and a lot of STEs and out-of-body experiences and speaking with entities. I mean, you channeled Christ for me, which is one of the most beautiful messages I ever heard in my life. But a lot of people, their only experience with the afterlife and their NDE, which is far more common than the more extensive experiences like you've had, is just coming out of your body momentarily at the scene of an accident or in the hospital. You see yourself from above and you go back in. And that is a spiritually transformative experience, because just that one moment is evidence I am not my body. I am more than that. You know, we're immortal beings. We're little pieces of the Creator. And so we've always existed and we always will. You know, we have all of eternity to transform our lives, and we never have to drag somebody else up, because they'll get there. You know, everybody's working towards the same goal, and raising consciousness, and everybody's working at their own pace, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and it's okay. We don't all have to be bullied into driving in the same lane. It's okay. We can have our own path, and I think that's a big lesson for all of us these days with humanity, because there's abundant love for all of us. God has extensive patience, and the other thing is, there are people that we all know that are very, let's say, hard headed. Maybe they are very fussy, very difficult. Maybe they're negative. Wherever they are, I can tell you as a medium, when they cross, because I get them coming through for people, they say, well, I wasn't exactly really nice. I was this and that. And they go, yeah. I'm like, and they'll apologize and they'll say, wow, I didn't see I was that. I get it now. And everything is exposed. They see how they treated people, not only how they see how they acted, but they'll also see the pain. They'll feel the pain that they created in the other person, and they really do. They get help. They get guidance over there, and they're supported, because the life review for many, but especially those that aren't so nice. They're just grouchy, and they're just not really. We know those people. It's not going to be pleasant for them, because they get to see the strife they've created in others' life. But the opposite is true. If you created joy in someone, then you'll be able to see the joy or the laughter or the impression that you left to people. So we can even do a life review now and look at, where we come, what do we want to improve. We don't have to wait.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The near-death experience, I think around a fourth or a third of the people experience a life review. And the life review is an STE. It's a spiritually transformative experience, right? So some people, every life review is different, because every person is different. So heaven gives you the experience that you most need. And in these life reviews, some people experience everything they ever thought, said, felt, and did, and at the same time they experience it as if they were that other person. I recall one guy talking about, he was a bully and he was beating this other guy up, hitting him. In his life review, there he was again, hitting the guy. At the same time, he was that guy. He felt his nose break. He felt his teeth breaking. He felt every one of the 34 blows. And of course, the opposite is true as well. I mean, people do things thinking nothing of it. A woman stopped and helped a person who was a stranded motorist with a jump start, and then hurried off to work without even waiting to be thanked. And here in her life review, she realized that woman had been stranded in the snow for hours and was getting worried, and this angel came and saved her. So that transforms us, because we see that our words and the way we treat others, even just as simple as the way we greet another person, has an effect, right? Every word that we speak to another has an effect, good or bad. And so, then we're asking ourselves the question, what kind of effect do I want to have? Do I want to uplift? Do I want to use my words to encourage and uplift, or do I want to use my words to be cruel and manipulative? So, yeah, it's a big lesson, the life review. Did you have a life review in any of your NDEs?
Well, it was so little, and most of them, I had that. See, all the way through 10 and 28 was a reaction to a pill, and I went to like space and just kind of hung out. I wanted to go to the nebula. I don't know why. I kind of looks like behind here. It was very peaceful. So no, not really, because oh, that's not true. That's not really true, but it was different. It was a different thing. When I was 5, Jesus just talked about things. He talked about my abuse, because I did want to die, because the sexual abuse, I didn't know what it was. I just wanted it to stop. And I said, I can't go back and do this. This just sucks. And so he said, and he told me that he had someone waiting for me that would help, which I know is Clay. I met him very early on, and I just feel like, when you get a puppy and they've been abused, if you get them early on, you can change them. It's good, but and so I was he had such a loving heart that really that I felt safe, and I started healing. But he said that things would get better. And he said that you're going to learn this. I did learn compassion for others through this. And I also learned what being cruel was and what narcissism is and arrogance. And I didn't like that too much. Unfortunately, we learned through polar opposites of things. And in the end, I felt really sorry for the abuser, because how messed up do you have to be to hurt a child, especially if it's yours? I mean, you got to be really a damaged person spiritually. So I felt bad for them. And I know that sounds strange to probably some people, but it did not happen overnight. I was when I started coming out of it, I was very angry for a long time, and I have moments. Sometimes I do. That's why I choose to be a victor and not a victim, because it's a choice. But at the same time, I have compassion for anyone that behaves in this way, because they're pretty broken spiritually. So, and I wish that for no one. But our experiences that we have are just that. They're experiences. They don't define us. We're eternal spiritual beings. They're just things we go through. We've had thousands and thousands of lives where we were the bad guy too, and the good guy, and the bad guy, and the priest, and the soldier, and the on this planet, different planets. And you think, why? Well, we're a part of creation. We cannot be destroyed. So, you can just, so the way I look at it now is, why not play a better game? Be mindful of what you say to others. And I really do. I really am concerned about what I say to people. Does that mean that I get it wrong sometimes, or I am forgetful, or don't think about doing something? Yeah, I do. And if I knew, I don't like people getting hurt emotionally, I would feel bad about that. But I look at social media, and just social media alone, okay? Not even one in particular. People say horrible, absolutely horrible things to one another. And I'm thinking, whatever happened to, your parents or your grandparents, when they would say, if you don't have anything nice, don't say it at all. And why did people arrogantly feel it's their right to tell you your business? And they're so cruel. And this is not what Jesus talks about. He talks about love your neighbor like yourself. And I don't, there's so much, unfortunately, I think you said it, David, there's more takers than givers, light workers in the world. And I think you're right on that. So it does sometimes burden my heart to see that, because that's not our true state to be that way. Our true state is not to be abrasive. Our true state is to be love. But what causes people to be abrasive is our fears.
Yes. And I like the point you made. You said you learned some positive things from your childhood trauma. And so, we think that maybe an STE, a spiritually transformed experience, is always, oh, there was a light and I magically became this enlightened spiritual person and I hold hands with all my friends and sing Kumbaya. Well, no, an STE can come in the form of a very negative, traumatic experience. I mean, for me personally, I had many years ago a big life change, and it caused a severe depression and emotional breakdown. And when I was going through that at the moment, it seemed like, life was over. I was never going to have joy and happiness again. And I came out of it, and it transformed me. And it was only when I got past it that I saw what a good effect it had on my life. So for those who might be watching, who might be suffering, depression or sadness, or thinking, where's my joy? I had the spiritual awakening. Aren't I supposed to be? No, you're still a human being. You're still going to have your ups and downs. But everything that happens to us here, like what you said, Tamara, good or bad, it's moving us to a higher level of consciousness to where we want to go.
Well, and if people want to hear your story, it is on my channel below where it's just you and it's David Suich's story. It's very good. And it's genuine and it's real. So if you want to hear about that. And then also when I mentioned I had 14 years I was in prayer, and my whole life was being this advertising exec. I had built it up. I had the outfits. I had the suit. I had the glasses matching the suits. I had the Louis Vuittons. I had this whole thing. I worked very hard at it. And that had become my identity. And I was like this little Barbie doll, and that's not who I was. And I'm so much more than that. And we're all so much more than that. And we are connected. We can't help not to be, just like we can't help to be creation. We don't die. We are part of God. We are part of creation. We can't die. So we might as well be productive and kind to one another. We're not, look, we're in a lifelong marriage with others in humanity. Even if you wanted to, you can pretend, but we're in this together. So why not play a better game and love each other a little bit more? And all these spiritually transformative experiences do is to wake you up to the fact that you're so much more than that little Barbie doll advertising executive. That's what it is.
We've talked about some of the difficulties of going through an STE, and for some of the people that may be watching right now going through some trauma or difficulties in this transformative experience. I mean, one of the things that happens, especially if you're like in a religion like I was, and I realized what my religion taught me wasn't true. It was like having the carpet pulled out from under me, or just, any kind of spiritually transformative experience, whether it's an OBE or an NDE or whatever. That can leave a lot of questions. It can leave some a feeling of being lost. When I had my session with you, and you channeled Christ for me, and then we had a personal spiritual counseling session that lasted a couple of hours. That was one of the most useful things.
Oh,
I mean, I've seen a half a dozen different specialists, and that helped me more than any other. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, if they want to do a private session with you for a reading or a counseling session, how do they do that?
Yeah, sure. Definitely. And, I should push myself more with that. I get so excited and passionate about this channel and helping people. But this is another way I can help people. Some people need private sessions, and it's personal, right? Others don't have to hear it. And that would be if they go to southernbellemedium.com, and they can purchase a reading. It explains what each one is. Life path readings, where I connect to Akashic records, holo records, and that's where your loved ones will come through, and you'll know who's around you, because sometimes they're part of your team. Your angels, ascended masters will come through, and I just go to a higher channel level and do prayers. And sometimes there's some energy work and healing that happens that also in the session is not just the words, but it feels good, because I'm working with the higher realms. So that's the 90-minute. But yeah, you can book a session there, or if you want a medium session, usually those are about an hour. If people sometimes they'll connect to one person the whole time, or sometimes I'll bring through a whole bunch of people that are, hey, they just a bunch of people want to come through and say hello and give a message of love and support, and to let you know they know what's going on in your life. So that's at southernbellemedium.com. And I also do a life path coaching, which is very similar, but some people want more one-on-one coaching. So I say start with this first, and then we'll go from there. And then I'll have my assistant Rachel contact you about days and times. And I do this all over the world on Zoom.
Okay, great. And one of the other things, I don't do ongoing sessions, but one of the things that's a real bargain is the Love Leader program on the Seeking Heaven channel. So what is it, $24.99? And we meet once a month. And I find that an incredibly useful program. It's a good budget program, and you get to speak with others who have common thoughts and common ideas. And it's a place where you feel at home, and you also feel free to kind of say anything. You're not going to get the raised eyebrow. This person's crazy, therefore they're dangerous. I want to get away from them. No, they're going to know, and they're going to believe you. They're going to be on board with you. So that's a great program as well. Your Love Leader program. Yeah, and that's through the website, right? They can sign up through the YouTube website.
That's through YouTube when it says join, and there's 3 different ways to support this channel. Yeah, it's very expensive. David knows. I've told him on the site. It's very, who knew? But I'm kind of committed now to you guys. But it does help us if it's a one-time donation or if it's a monthly donation. But the higher level, $24.99, you get me 90 minutes to 2 hours once a month. And what I found, and it's interesting hearing your viewpoint, but actually the people on there like one another, don't you think?
Yeah, they're good people. It's a good place to meet people with like-minded philosophies and thoughts. All right, so we're coming up on an hour here, so let's wrap up. Do you have any final thoughts, or maybe you want to give us a teaser about what to expect in your panel at the SAI conference coming up?
Yes. So the Spiritual Awakenings International.org, that's where you can register, is the childhood panel that will be on that Saturday. And I'll also be moderating the Talking Dead panel where multiple NDErs will be there. And I'm also a multiple NDEr, so that should be fun. We all have good chemistry, so that's going to be a hoot. We'll have some fun with that. But the childhood STE panel, there's 2 others that'll be on there as well with me, Brian Sackett and Kirsty Salisbury. And as for me, I'm going to talk about these things that I didn't share with other people growing up. Some of the things that I experienced. That's a little bit more in depth and personal. And again, I don't know why I never really shared some of this stuff and who was coming into my room and what was going on in my normal. What my childhood was really like. I mean, it was at the time traumatizing because I didn't understand it. But I've been working with this a long time now, and I have mastery over it. And I'm not bothered like that anymore. As a matter of fact, I only work with the highest of frequency. So anything that's a lower vibration just doesn't bother me.
Okay, great. Well, Tamara, thank you so much for taking the time today to share with us all your spiritually transformative experiences and everything that you went through. And I'm sure a lot of people are learning from that and knowing that they're not alone. And I want to say thanks to our YouTube family for watching. So remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on our next Spiritual Enlightening show.
Oh, thank you, David. You did a great job. And make sure everybody buys David Suich's book, God Took My Clothes. And it's always a joy and an honor to be able to be interviewed by you. You're a terrific host and friend, so thank you.
I enjoyed it. Thank you, Tamara.
Bye. Please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.